Greetings, Light Tribe. Janine Palmer here, Spirit Silver Moon. This is a follow-up video on the one I just did called, well, ended up calling it Destruction and Creation, because it is only a perspective or a limited perspective, and it's not meant to be offensive. So with a previous similar post I did earlier, so many people really resonated with the comment of the two biggest weapons of mass destruction being religion and politics. And pretty much all you have to do is watch the news to see that, or to know of history of how certain groups, ethnic groups, religious groups, cultural groups, have continued to war and fight for millennia. And it's still ongoing. And extremist groups, and how they fight and why they fight. Okay, so, and that could be even a mixture of political issues, cultural issues combined with religious issues, and whatever the peoples, the groups, or whatever their understanding of religion is, to that point, to date. So I would like to reiterate that I know, I'm aware of, I acknowledge, and I honor the fact that churches can be extremely helpful and healing to people. Some churches have amazing pastors, preachers, pastors, bishops, vicars, whatever you want to call it, who have a wonderful, healing, uplifting energy. And I think that's what church should be about. I think that if a person goes to church and they come away feeling spiritually uplifted, that's what it's supposed to be about. And I honor that, and I'm thankful for that on this planet. And I know we need more of that in many ways, shapes, and forms. And some people have that. They have found that. And it uplifts them, it empowers them, it heals them. Blessings to that. And then similarly, we hear horror stories or experience them, where sometimes some people will maybe be visiting their daughter or son in another state at another church other than the one they typically go to. And it has happened where that preacher will actually make an example of the guest putting their religion down. Some religions and churches and people, followers, badmouth others. They would attack it, they would put it down, they would belittle it, they would demean it. This is programming and conditioning. You know, so it's not like, oh, all religions are bad. No, this is bringing light and awareness to the fact that sometimes it's used in lower vibrational, darker ways that are harmful. Okay, and they use fear and shame and guilt to do it. And they make people, some of them, make people feel unworthy. They beat into their head this ideology about sinners, when to sin means to miss the point or miss the mark. But they use it as this heavy, dark, devilish cloak to keep people shackled and stuck. So when I'm talking about that in my videos or writings, that's what I'm talking about, is the awareness of the stuckness. And they're not all like that. Thank God, or the gods, or whatever it is you believe in. Okay. Oh, and a friend today told me this story, and you might even know more about it than I do. It's real vague rendition of this story, but that there was a church that was getting a new preacher, and they had not met him yet, and they were getting ready for church coming in, and there was a man there who was like a homeless man. Some of you all probably know the story better than me, but he looked like a homeless hobo, whatever words people like to hang on stuff. People use the word derelict or whatever, but I just want to say a poor homeless man. And you know how it is when that's the state, where the clothes might be not in the best shape, or maybe we need a haircut or a shave, or maybe we don't look clean or something. So anyway, there was a man there at this church, and a lot of people were shunning him. They didn't have the time of day for this man. Some people put their noses up in the air. They act like they don't exist. They look down on them. It's just this foul energy. And that is kind of what this man was experiencing from some people. It's kind of interesting. You're at church, and there's someone there that appears to be homeless. Either is homeless or appears to be homeless. How do we treat people, and why? And how does it make us feel when we do that? Some people feel superior. Makes them feel bigger. Anyway, so it's time to announce the new preacher. And who comes out but that man, the homeless man. And so those people who snubbed him, oh, they know who they were. They knew how they acted. They knew what their energy was. And maybe they were a little bit embarrassed. So sometimes you can't just tell a story and hope people are going to get it. Some people do. Some people do, and some people don't. Unless and until they experience it. So this man was reflecting people's behavior back to them, unbeknownst to them. It's a little experiment. I think it's fantastic. The ones who were kind to them know who they are, and the ones who weren't also know who they are. And hopefully they realize, come to find out, this is their preacher, and he was doing a little test or a little experiment. Maybe they'll look twice about their behavior towards their fellow man. So we learn this through experience more than we learn it through a story or the telling of a story. However, when I was talking about my calling of being a messenger and sharing healing messages, from what I learned and went through, for whatever that's worth, and if some people find it helpful, and the energy healing modalities that I've learned. So like I said, I might see or hear a word. I might be watching a movie and I'll hear a word or two and I'll write them down. And I'll write something that's not even related to what I heard, but just the phrase means something to me. And I will write something to go with it from my experience or understanding of something. Or however I'm guided to do what I do. Because sometimes I'll write something and someone will say, oh my God, this is the message I needed to hear. It's like you wrote it for me. Maybe I did, but I didn't know it. It just is what came through. Okay, so it's like from what I learned from people, I might feel there's something important to be shared from this, from what I learned, from this subject, what it means to me, if I experience something similar to it, what I got out of it. So I will take from experience, from learning, from what it means to me on a level I may or may not even be able to explain, but something prompts me to do a message about something, whether it's a video, whether it's in writing, both, whatever. It's like, okay, I need to do something with this. Something sticks with you, you remember it. Maybe you take notes and then you say, okay, I'm going to do something about this subject because I have a message to share. And that's what I do, is I share messages. Maybe I can try to explain it. Maybe I can't. Maybe I don't need to. I would call it divine guidance, and I would call it inspiration. And some people will get that and some people won't. And that's not my business. So anyway, I love it when churches can be inspirational and helpful to humanity. And I don't like it when they're not. And that is a huge part of my calling, is to bring awareness to that issue, whatever that is. Whether or not what I do can be helpful, don't know. I just feel I'm supposed to do it, so I do. Peace.